The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
Hey, it's episode number B161. It is 170 days till the man burns as of this recording. I was just chatting with a new friend just the other day about the default world being on fire. And throughout our chat, they kept making references to when this is all over or when this ends. And it was a long, complex conversation about like authoritarianism and war and all that jazz, everything that's happening in the world right now that we are overwhelmed with information about. Far too many subjects, of course, to recap this exact instant. But the point being, this person saw all of what was happening as like episodic. Like when those white supremacist ice guys are going to get their comeuppance when this ends. Or we're going to do this thing when this is over. And we take them to court and everyone who's done bad things is just punished and we return to quote unquote normal. I'm doing the quoties with my hands here. I didn't have a heart to throw a wrench in their hope. In hindsight, yes, it can seem episodic, of course, because it's in our nature to compress and compartmentalize our memories and our history. The past turns into these blocks of information, these 3-act plays and movies in our perception, but it's more like waves. Each of us isn't having just one single hero's journey. We're going through these multiple ones all the time, at the same time, and we're in different stages of each of those journeys in regards to different subjects and spiritual challenges and adventures. We don't just actualize one day, like the waves on the sand. They push in and out, they pull out, then they push a little further. And then here from our little ant perceptions anyway, you know, from these little tiny nodes, that's the part that I keep thinking about. And then years in the future from vastly different perspectives, we get to experience hindsight. With technology, with spiritual advancement, we look back from these vantage points of gods. We look back and then the Renaissance and the Middle Ages and the Industrial Revolution look like episodes of this history of humanity TV show. But if you're storytellers, if documentary and history is your art or your project, you can sometimes get a little peek at what this all might look like from the vantage point we have yet to arrive at as a species. And I feel like that's the crux of a lot of what our guest today is working on as I was exploring and researching his background. Today's guest is Ben Haldeman. Ben Haldeman is an engineer, explorer, and visionary founder of the LifeShip, among other visionary and very nerdy endeavors, if you don't mind me saying so myself. His work is dedicated to creating permanent biological and digital backdrops of planet Earth, designed to preserve our collective human legacy by launching archives of human DNA and digital memories into the cosmos. His work is physically documenting the human spirit to ensure that our story survives. A whole new vantage point of humanity, we might say, from the stars. With the default world being on fire in so many ways, I know it's the topic on everybody's mind, the question of should we keep doing all the things that we're doing if these things are happening in the world. I personally love that ours is a community where we have the freedom to casually discuss our shared humanity from perspectives most in the default world have never even considered because they're thinking more about these episodes. I hope that today's chat inspires some hope so that we can look at it all from this new vantage point. It's conversations like these that remind me to look up, quite literally. Ben Haldeman is my guest today. After the chat, we'll play about a half hour of a perfect pairing of a DJ set, one that was recorded from the Air Pusher art car at Burning Man in 2025 by Black Velveteen. so that there's some music to inspire some dance and flight too. But today, of course, I'm going to talk to Ben about his history, about his upbringing, about how he got involved and how he was inspired to start LifeShip, and hopefully a lot of inspirational conversation about our vantage point, our perspective as humanity. Because that, I don't know about you, listener, that's the reason that I personally like going to Burning Man. It's conversations like this. So anyway, Black Velveteen is after the chat. Right now, let's go ahead and dive into it. Today's episode is entitled From Earth with Love. I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was the fly with the balls and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
All right, there we go. How are we doing?
Doing great.
Did
Awesome.
I capture the vibe of like, I mean, because I got really deep into, there's a lot of engineering talk. I've like checking out your old interviews and stuff, and I'm like, I want to like, you know, here we like to have the conversation that we're gonna have at 2 a.m. on Playa.
I at first I was like, "Where are you going?"
Yeah.
But I love it, and yeah, that's what it's about. Is like big picture. Who are we? Where are we going?
Yeah.
You know, we're caught in the cloud of the current realities,
Yeah.
but you know, I feel stories and vision can bring hope, and they can be something that unite people and excite people and help the dots connect towards that future.
Yeah. I'm gonna poke quite a bit about a lot of this for the next hour or so as we chat, and I'm gonna ask you a lot of weird questions, and I want to kind of like set the stage super quick about how we met, and then I want to get into your story. And the reason I'm setting the stage is partly because it makes me feel really cool, but also to kind of like give a context about sort of the rest of this chat. We met in a LA Tech Week event a few months ago, right? And without getting too deep into it, I somehow found myself at this salon in Beverly Hills, like a conversation salon, not a hair drying salon, and gosh, I don't know, there was like 20, 25 people there or something like that, right? And you and I had not met just yet. I was on this invite list. I have no idea how I got on there, and I kind of just happened to be in town, and I kind of just did this I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to see what happens. I'm just going to show up and see. And I came, and there was this long talk, there was a talk being given about like AI and the next phases that we're going through in tech. And there's all these people, like very impressive people. Like the room is packed with people with like multiple startups and running foundations. And they're talking about like the next stage in humanity. And it's interesting because I remember that we were pretty deep in, I want to say like this is like when like Minnesota had completely taken over the news, and yet the conversation in this room was all about like the next 100 years, the next hundreds of years, right? And then after the conversation, like after the stuff ended, they start doing a thing where they're going around the room and asking who each person is and what you're working on, and I'm like listening to each person listing off all the things that they're doing, and I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna say when it comes to me? And then when it got to me and I talked about Burner Podcast, there was like an audible gasp of like excitement in the room, which I remember going like, oh, thank God I was able to bullshit these very impressive people enough. And then afterwards you came up and I chatted with like multiple other people that came up and were interested in the podcast. And you stood out specifically to me because as we were chatting, I was like, everything about what you're saying is like the kinds of stuff that we would talk about on Playa. Like what you're working on literally could be a Burning Man project. But it's like out here in the default. And so, yeah. And here we are.
Yeah. And what if Burning Man has a space program? Like how would Burning Man's, perhaps my favorite culture on Earth. What if that's the movement that populates the solar system and goes on to being a galactic species? And if we can build at Burning Man these last few years, then surely we could build a city on the moon.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of. I mean, I might be biased, but I certainly would rather burners spread out across the Earth than like, I don't know, Catholics. Like it's all like sad, emo, like pain and suffering and sin. I'd rather like we go and enjoy some of this a little bit more.
Yeah. Well,
I want to know. I know that the most kind of like, I think when we met, we were. I guess you had just launched the pyramid that's landed on the moon, right?
So we put a pyramid on the moon. I started an organization called LifeShip, and it launched January 2025. It took about 2 months to get to the moon. It landed on the moon March 2nd, 2025. And we were on board a commercial moon lander, Firefly Aerospace, which is based out of Austin, Texas. And they built the moon lander, and then it launched on a SpaceX rocket. And it had a perfect landing on the moon, and we put this pyramid that you can hold in your hand on the lander that landed on the moon, and inside is a seed bank, all different plant seeds from around the world, DNA from all different species. So it's really like a backup of Earth in a way. It's got the blueprint of Earth, the genetic blueprint of Earth. And then it also has all sorts of art in it. I actually put playa dust. So there's playa dust on the moon. And then all sorts of other, there's a drop of sacred water from 33 sites around the world that was collected with intention by this one partner. And it's got really a full cultural time capsule that all sorts of people have added to.
That's wild. So that was 2025. Did LifeShip started in 2018?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've done 4 space missions. The one to the moon was the most significant. We've put 2 up in orbit. One went the distance of the moon but didn't land on the moon.
Cool. I'm gonna fill in all these gaps. I want to know about. Can you tell me about the night of or the day of where this launch is actually happening? Where are you? What's happening? What are you feeling?
So I hosted so I really see LifeShip as a community mission, and I've been to a bunch of rocket launches. I decided not to go to the rocket launch. I hosted a online launch party, and there's over 100 people on it, and we live streamed the rocket. We had a bunch of guests share their different content on it. And rocket launches are exciting, but the rocket launch, it was on a SpaceX rocket. We pretty much knew the rocket was going to do well. SpaceX has launched hundreds of times successfully. Landing on the moon is the hard part. So we also had a live stream party to watch it land on the moon. And even though it was like 2 a.m., there was a lot of people on the call and a lot of excitement. And there's been maybe 5 or 6 of these commercial moon landers that have tried to land on the moon. Only this one was the first one to do it completely successfully. A couple have crashed into the moon, high speed. Two have landed somewhat softly and then tipped over. But this one had a perfect landing, so that was
nice.
That was very, very much an unknown and probably like a less than 50% chance that it was going to successfully land, and so that was the most exciting when it landed on the moon.
How long did it take to get from its launch to its land?
About 2 months.
Okay.
It took.
So you had like a launch online party here, and then like 2 months late, like you'd sit around and wait for 2 months.
Pretty much, and we were tracking it. Like it did a bunch of laps around Earth and increasingly elliptical orbits that shot it further and further, and then at some point it loses Earth's gravity and slings towards the moon.
Wow.
I guess it doesn't lose the gravity; it just loses the orbit and does a translunar injection. It's called, and then it gets captured by the moon's orbit and does a bunch of orbits around the moon before attempting to land.
Okay, yeah, I'm visualizing that.
And so with this, it took about 2 months. There are quicker ways to get to the moon and faster. When people go, it generally will take like a day or 2 days or 3 days to get to the moon with bigger rockets. But this took a more fuel efficient, slower path.
Yeah, you had some layovers.
You
were flying
cruising.
coach. So I want to. So it's 2 a.m. I want to like physically be there with you. Are we in the house where you were at 2 a.m. or
we
somewhere
are
else?
right where we're sitting now.
Yeah, we're at Emerald Village. It's that's correct, right? And it's it's fair to describe it as like a burner commune.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, Emerald Village was started about 15 years ago with 5 families who all were burners and wanted to create a community that felt more like
being on Playa.
It felt like being on Playa, but was also grounded and setting in roots and nature based and connected. And 15 years on, it's evolved a lot and changed a lot. I've only been here 3 years, so I'm not one of the originals, but it definitely still has the burner DNA in it.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's and can I say, by the way, like there's this process of like who I'll end up sitting with for this podcast, and it is a little bit like what you're describing about that launch, where it's kind of a takeoff and then you go through a few orbits and then you land. So you didn't know this at the time that we met, or I didn't know this, but as we were communicating, it turned out that you were here, and for the past 5 or 6 years, I've had multiple people suggest doing something about Emerald Village, so just fascinating story to tell, right? So then as soon as I learned that that's where you were, I'm like, wow, look at all the different signs that are lining up that I want to learn more about this guy. Yeah,
there's a lot of community. There's a lot of people that want to start communities. There's a lot that get started, but there's a big filter there. Not many last. Not many hold on to their core values. It's hard for a group of people to live together and get along for a while. But in this community is had that as well. But has maintained a pretty great vibe and a pretty great culture, and it's pretty awesome. Cool.
Did you have your neighbors joining you for that 2 a.m. gathering, or were you sitting here alone at the laptop?
No, computer? I was with all my virtual friends.
Okay,
yeah.
Where were your friends?
A neighbor did watch it from his own place. Yeah.
So how many people were there for that virtual landing? You said
around 100.
Okay. For the launch, you had 100. You had like another 100 for
something like that.
Who? How did you know these folks? Like, how did you connect?
So with LifeShip, I've gotten a bunch of partners that are doing their own collections, and so a bunch of those were speakers and part of it, and some of those are like an art gallery of art where all the art got miniaturized and sent to the moon, and another did a museum of ideas where they did interviews of people about their ideas, and all their ideas went to the moon. Another's working towards an organization working towards the the first university on the moon is what they want to build. And then for now they're engaging students and creating ways for people all over to be part of these moon missions as kind of a first step. And so I have about 20 of these partners that are all doing their own collections and are all a part of this in different ways. And and so many were those. I also have all sorts of artists that add their art, and some of those do bigger art. Like on next versions of these, we're doing art on the sides of the pyramid. We chose a pyramid shape for at least the initial ones of these. And so a good art community, a good set of entrepreneurs that are building their own collections, and then just overall fans of the mission or being part of a space mission.
Rad. How did you meet the 20? The folks who you partner with?
I go to Burning Man every year. I go to Davos for the World Economic Forum. I just went to South by Southwest. I met you at LA Tech Week, and so I go to lots of cool things, and I just meet people who are doing something that they're like, oh, I have something I would have said, or I have an idea I've been thinking about, and a few of these I've met when they're just ideas, and I'm like, well, let's just do it. I'll help you get started. And so I've in some ways served as like a mentor for some of them. In some ways I'm like open up the whole space dimension for them and allow them to take their idea and
I love it.
Take it to the stars.
Yeah. Were you nervous when it was landing, or were you like optimistic that it's going to land fine?
I was optimistic, but I was definitely realistic as well. It was very exciting. Like just a rocket launch isn't as quite of an unknown, and I've already put many things in space, but landing on the moon definitely still is very hard and unknown and challenging. So that was a peak exciting experience.
All right. I want to go back to more to the beginning of your story then now. Do you have a specific childhood memory that comes to mind about looking up to the stars and going, I'm going to work in that space, no pun intended. Like that's the direction of my life. That's something I want to do. Is there like an image in the movie where you're like flying a plane and you're looking past it,
I did spend a lot of time outside. I did stare at the stars. I did stare at the moon.
Where were you? Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Pennsylvania outside Philadelphia, but then I spent all the summers in Nova Scotia, Canada. We had a summer home there on big land and dark skies. And
did you get Northern Lights there?
Not that I remember, but I'm sure it's possible.
Yeah,
we got them all the way down here a couple of years ago in some freak Northern Light storm.
That's a trip.
Yeah, I don't know if there's one moment. I was in Boy Scouts, and for whatever reason, my nickname in Boy Scouts was Spaceman.
Okay,
but it wasn't necessarily. It was more because I was called me Spacey, rather than just like fully interested in space. But I had some space Legos, and I didn't go to space camp, but I wanted to, and so I definitely had an interest there.
What was your family like? Was your just tell me about your world in that era?
Yeah. My mom and dad were both hippies. My dad had gone to Woodstock, and they had a Volkswagen van when I was born. And when we first started going to Canada, we would stay in this Volkswagen van, and then they bought land and built a house from trees cut down on the property. My dad he opened a salmon fishing shop and guided people for salmon and guided people in the Bahamas for fishing bonefish. So he was big into salmon fishing, and then also got into coaching soccer as well, like high school teams. and then he built all the houses we lived in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he built like 3 houses that we lived in.
That's pretty cool.
And
So
then
there was an early sense of we can build this ourselves in your family.
Yeah, we in Canada we got bare land, and then had someone bring a sawmill in and cut down the trees and made the boards from the trees on the property. And
How many siblings?
one sister, 4 years younger.
Okay. When you were a teenager, what was the dinner table conversation like?
Yeah, so my parents divorced when I was in middle school, and then I spent more time with my mom, but I would spend summers with my dad, and good chunk of time. I don't remember conversation, but probably not too big picture. Probably not like necessarily the news. More like what we were up to, and I played a bunch of sports, and my sister did too, and I did well at school, and physics and math, and were kind of my strong point, and my most interests. And
But I mean, it's no, all that is interesting. Like it just sounds like you were very present. Because I mean, I can tell you, our conversation wasn't that, right? Mm-hmm. But like the ability to be like that level of present, I think is gonna it contributes to kind of like who you are as a person, and what it contributes to, the person that you become eventually. So it was like very. Like, immediately you had examples of working with your hands. It sounds like, you were out experiencing nature, was nature, would you look back and say nature was a big part of your experience?
Totally. I both in Pennsylvania when I was younger up until middle school, we lived had big woods and river right next to our land. And, I spent a lot of time there, and I built forts, and I would go sleep in them, and and then in Canada it was big land around us. Eventually, it was 200 acres that my family had up there, and it was lots of time just being free and barefoot in the forest.
You found that you excelled in physics and stuff. Was it the mathematical side of it that you think you thrived in? Is that where you felt comfortable in?
And I had built a lot of stuff, and I was in Boy Scouts and knew how to create things. And so I was drawn to creating things.
Mm-hmm. So jump forward, where'd you go to college?
I went to undergrad at Penn State University, and then I studied mechanical engineering.
Okay.
And then I came out to Berkeley for grad school.
Okay.
And did my master's in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
And part of a PhD. But then
I spent a bunch of time walking around Berkeley. It's just like I love walking around university campuses. Mm-hmm. It's just like an energy. Yeah. Like Berkeley has that feeling when you're walking around it, like a lot of history has happened here.
A lot of people who've gone on to do cool things have been there for sure. It's got a lot of depth to it.
So let's close the gap to kind of like forward here. Your LifeShip started in 2018. Where were you? Let's go from university to LifeShip. Tell me that chapter.
Yeah. So I left my PhD to go join this friend who had just joined a company building telescopes around the world. And it was started by Wayne Rosing, who was executive vice president of engineering at Google. And he left Google and set aside a good endowment to build a network of telescopes around the world. And that was his retirement give back project. And we grew up to about 70 people and built big telescopes all over the world. And I got to travel to them. I did 4 trips to Australia, 4 trips to Hawaii to set up telescopes on Haleakala, trips to Chile, and we put up telescopes in 6 or 8 different sites around the world and designed these, and then did that for 8 years and designed a big part of them, designed the instruments for them, the camera systems, and then the engineering chunk of that was kind of wrapping up, and so I was looking for my next thing, and out of the blue, an old roommate reached out to me and said that he met the CEO of this cool company in San Francisco that was starting up, and he thought he'd love to introduce me to him, and thought I'd be a good fit. And there was no website on the company, and it was in stealth mode, and all I knew is it did space things, and so I went up for an interview, and the CEO, Will Marshall, he gave me a pin where to meet him, and it was up on top of this like on a Saturday at noon and I followed the pin. I had never been there. I was outside Stanford University, and it was up this long hike up a hill to these radio dishes on top of the hill is where I met him for the interview. And so
I know what you're describing. Yeah.
He had a few of his teammates there working on connecting with the radio dishes to talk to satellites for one of their upcoming launches. And the company was Planet Labs, it had a name Cosmogi at the time, but as kind of its secretive stealth name. And then I was inspired by it. Will was awesome. I decided to do it. We decided to do it, and I was the 20th person to join Planet Labs, and Planet has gone on to put something like 400 or 500 satellites in space now to image the whole world every day. And I designed the initial camera system of the whole satellites, and then I did product management, new mission design. I worked with the rockets to get satellites in space. I had a pretty epic 5 years there, and we grew to 500 people while I was there. Now it's over 1,000 people. Whoa! And Planet. Part of my vision was that I have to go to San Francisco to change the world, and I feel like I was a core early part of a company that has brought transparency to our planet, and anyone can see our changing world, and the ability to see these certain things on a regular basis was limited. Even governments couldn't see all of it because they couldn't build satellites this low cost. And so we kind of changed the whole way we understand and record and quantify the Earth. And there's all sorts of great use cases as far as deforestation and seeing what trees get cut down yesterday and how to stop that new logging road going into the rainforest, whereas before it was like, we found out about this a year after it happened, or finding illegal fishing, or quantifying whole industries and how things move around and how houses are being developed, and really, and that's really just the start of what Planet's doing as far as you put artificial intelligence into just watching our whole planet, you can understand and quantify and take care of all sorts of things. And so it really is a new whole big vision capability for our planet.
What you said you went to San Francisco wanting to change the world. Did you have a vision of what that was going to be yet, or you just knew that you felt a desire to nudge reality?
Yeah, I had... in my year or so before this, I read a book about the Google founders, and I read Richard Branson's book, and I read several other companies that have had a big impact on the Earth. And I was working on telescopes. They were looking out towards space, but I definitely was interested in robots and other sort of mechanical things here on Earth. And so I wasn't set on, okay, this must be a space thing. But yeah, I definitely have had a through line of interest in space. And so the absolute perfect project came along as I started putting myself out there and looking for it.
Well, I mean, even without getting too deep into the space thing, I'm fascinated with like the things that that call us. Like, are you familiar with The Sims? The game The Sims?
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's been forever since I played it, but I feel like the gameplay is still the same, right? Where you click your mouse on a spot and then the little person tries to go, like walks over to it, right? And if you click the mouse behind a desk, first it might run into the desk at first, then it tries to go around it. If you click it in a weird place, it keeps trying to get there, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that mouse click might be what we interpret in our tiny human brains as purpose, right? Like the universe just like clicks in a direction and we try to move around things in order to get there, and we don't know what's happening, and sometimes we misinterpret it, so we just get stuck behind the desk walking against the desk forever, and but so like when you describe like this desire to change the world, I'm interested in what that mouse click is. Like different people feel called to different purposes. I feel called to showcase artists. Like that's like a big thing in a lot of my personal mission. And it took me 40 years to figure that out. Right. So like, I wonder, like looking back now, whether or not it was space, would you be able to look at that experience, that time in your life when you were younger and, whatever, looking at the world and going, what is this thing that's calling me? What do I want to do? Because it's not just like money, right? It's not just success. Like there's something there.
Yeah, I definitely, my parents were early environmentalists. They were, I spent a lot of time in nature. I felt like there was some, there had to be something around caring for Earth and life. And I loved designing and building mechanical things, and so how that all kind of completed the picture of what the specific purpose of the company. It could have been other things as well. Like there's a lot of awesome hardware solutions that are helping our Earth, and but yeah, space gives a big picture. I also had gotten really into. I was a professional cyclist. I did Ironman triathlons. I climbed a bunch of big mountains. I got big into rock climbing and did multi-day, the biggest cliffs in Yosemite and places around the world. And so there was a big part of me that really was like drawn to climb the biggest mountain. Yeah. And in some ways space kept feeling like the big mountain that was ready to be climbed, and that interesting, and that I was meant to do stuff in space.
Yeah. It's a lot of it does keep coming back to nature and the biosphere for you. Did you, cause like, the conversation I think now that's happening in at least here in the United States, I can't say for the entire world, there's a lot of exploration of like these different sectors. We're asking questions about what our role is in society. There's a conversation happening a lot about like the tech sector and the description of sort of like what the tech world is versus this other world versus, activists in the street. Right. So I want to kind of know, like, were you seeing tech as a direction to helping the Earth specifically, or was it more like, I'm curious to kind of see it from this other vantage point?
Yeah, at least back then when I moved to San Francisco to change the world with tech, like tech just felt so good. Yeah. Like, so much like, oh, this is a lever to have big impact on the world. And people working on it were inspiring and aiming to impact, 1 billion people and aiming to solve big challenges. And, tech still is that. I think tech has also has caused challenges too. And like this, the can of worms we are in this world is like some of that's due to technologies but like I feel like when I moved there, it was still, the conversations of what social media was doing to us, like that all was just feeling like it was getting started. And I really just felt this like big optimism of how we can do big things and impact Earth. And
So I
was drawn to that.
Yeah, and I want to keep that alongside as we kind of learn about LifeShip, right? So how does LifeShip get started?
Yeah, so after Planet, I gave myself 6 months to take an extended vision quest, essentially. And I had I have a daughter. She's now 11. She was 4 or 5 at the time, and so I spent more time with her. I spent more time in nature. Burning Man fell in the middle of that. I did some I think 2 different trips down to Central America during that time as well, and time in the rainforests. And
so Burning Man came after you were done with Planet Labs.
Oh, I had been to Burning Man a few times already. Okay. But there was a Burning Man in that 6 months
that
of visioning. And
obviously.
So I had worked on satellites to image the world, and I felt like I was meant to do something related to life in space.
Can I ask you what would you be able to say in a statement, sort of like what your takeaway was from that chapter about us and about the Earth? And
so Planet's a space company that was all about helping Earth, and so I really got this vision of using space to help Earth, using space to help life, space being a part of our future, space being integrated into just who we are as humans. Like there's an imaginary border around Earth, and it's not like we're just here to. I guess there's the atmosphere. There's a real border in some ways, but I see space as just part of spaces everywhere, and we're not confined to here. And
there was a time where we were confined to our village and to our water, surroundings.
There's abundance of energy and resources that float by Earth, and I was part of over 30 rocket launches while I was there, and just designed things that space used to take forever. Like projects would take decades, and someone would work on something their whole life to put something in space. And I was working on things and redesigning them, and then we were shipping them off to the rocket like weeks or months later. And so we were doing space very differently. And so it felt much more accessible to me. It felt much more like I was seeing the exponential of, okay, like people are starting to launch on these new rockets. These rockets are launching hundreds of times a year. In the next 5-10 years, like there will be thousands of rockets, and people will be going. And at some point, it's like how airplanes suddenly opened up intercontinental travel, and then it wasn't just like, oh, it happened once and then didn't. It's like, oh, now it's daily. And so I really saw space as a thing that was just like about to be blasted open into like daily launches and thousands and millions of people. And
it's a lot more demystified for you than the average person. Yeah. Because for a lot of us, like we're not even aware of it until it, our cousins forwards us an Instagram reel or something. Look what we just did. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
For you,
and then it's just even more apparent nowadays, like how fast things are moving. And me personally knowing and having seen the next generation of rockets and going to things like LA Tech Week and meeting dozens of CEOs of other space companies that are all like, we're going to be providing the electrical utility on the moon in 5 years from now, or we're building these moon landing pads, and we're betting there's going to be cities on the moon in 5 years from now. And there's just so many of the creators that are building these things, and
is it going to be 5 years from now?
That are funding. In like 5-7 years, there will be
5 to 7 years.
City started.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
People will land on the moon in like 3 years, but as soon as that capability exists, like the rockets Elon's building will be able to carry 50 to 100 people to the moon, and he's not just building a couple of these rockets. He's building a factory to build 1,000 of them a year. And so it's just like suddenly like airplanes exist. And the moon is, the surface area of the moon is about the size of Africa. And so, many people in the space industry say like the opportunities are continental. Like when we found a whole new continent here on Earth, like that like, think of what North America brought. And it's just like,
but there's nobody
unimaginable
there.
how much impact a whole new continent has. And the moon has resources. The moon is another destination. The moon is a launch pad to further places in space, and there's abundance in space, and that'll.
Did you when you're? I mean, in all the years, like as a person working deep in this space, what's the conversation like among this community about life, about non-terrestrial life, about non-human life?
Most people I know think there's space is just too big, that there's got to be other intelligent life, and it's very likely life evolved to some point on Mars as well, or that was connected here with Earth, and so it's very likely that lifes like that's an inherent property is like when you have the right conditions, atoms and molecules get together and they gather to form more intelligence. And how common that is we don't know. Like we do know how many Earth-like planets there are, and how and there's a lot, and so there's very likely life out there.
Do folks believe we've made any contact with this life, or is it all just like, well, obviously we have the conditions?
Yeah, people are pretty mixed on that. I think a lot of people in the New Age woo-woo spiritual think that they see aliens around, and I haven't seen any real evidence that that flying saucers have landed or flown anything around. I'm not convinced about that, but I do think the whole nature of consciousness and reality and time and space in some ways being a bit of an illusion, and whether we're in a matrix or a simulation or a dream, that like there's other intelligences there that affect what's happening, and and from my experiences, I believe that the future and the past are kind of all being written the same time out of the present, and that's impacted by what's happening all over the universe, what will happen all over the universe, and that it all is just in this evolving story of the universe. And
so, I want to hear more about that. Tell me about kind of where this was. Where do you have memories of like when this concept started to solidify for you? Specific events or moments of epiphany.
Well, my one like experience that comes. So I did. This was maybe 5 years ago. I did an ayahuasca ceremony in a underground cenote cave in Mexico, in Tulum. And the next day I was walking on the beach, and this local there had a small catamaran and offered to take me sailing on the catamaran, and I paid him, and we went out sailing at sunset on the catamaran. And we were the only boat out there at this like perfect sunset out from these pyramid ruins in Tulum, just like rocking on the catamaran at sunset. And this isn't something I normally would say, but I just like felt some energetic shift, and I told the guy a portal just opened, and then the Mexican guy said, I'm Mayan, and I have a ancient Mayan mantra for you.
Wow.
And I said, what's your mantra? And he said, I am an intergalactic portal, come through me. And I said that 3 times. I am an intergalactic portal, come through me. And then it was like I just landed there. And then I was an alien that landed in this body on a catamaran out from these pyramid ruins in Tulum. And that just felt like so real for me for the weeks and month after, is that some consciousness just came into me from another place, and that's how I either landed here on Earth or everything before me is just a story, and that's when my story on Earth really began. But yeah, it felt like something big happened, and I was convinced about it, and but now it's a distant memory, and
it feels completely real for a while.
Yeah. And I've had other experiences where that have given me a feeling of or like a complete sense and knowing of the future being and the past being written out of the present moment. And and that it's not just like a one-dimensional timeline that we're living on, and that we're getting intelligence from other places.
Have these experiences affected your decision making, let's say with the company, with your career, with how you move through the world?
Yeah, I still don't know if we have if we're destined or what the future has for me. I do believe that the Earth is conscious and intelligent, and that we are like cells of the planet, and I do believe that the Earth wants to reproduce, and she wants life to spread out of here, and that she's guiding humans and us. And so I do have a trust in the unfolding of Earth's story and humanity's story. And I feel that we have a purpose in the universe, and that perhaps our biggest purpose is to continue life and steward life. And so I feel connected to that, and I feel a trust in that that will unfold, and how much of that role I have is to be determined, but I believe I'm a part of that, and I'm doing that, and that the Earth is guiding me, and
That's interesting. Do you? I want to pop into Burning Man for a second. How did Burning Man get introduced to you?
So I was living in San Francisco. I was at Planet. Planet would early days kind of. Half the people would be gone during Burning Man, and
it's a company holiday.
So it was on my radar, and then at some point, I decided I went to another festival. I think it was my first festival, and then Burning Man was coming up, and I think it had already maybe even started like that. The Sunday it starts, I got together with a friend who had gone to Burning Man maybe 5 years before that. And we're like, well, what if we just try to go? And so we started looking for tickets the couple of like that next day. And then I think I went on Wednesday of Burning Man my first time and stayed till Sunday or Monday. And so I pulled it all together in like 2 days with my friend, and from just an idea. And
What keeps you going back?
so that was my first time. I've been back 9 times in a row. The first year of COVID, it was very small and I didn't go. It's my favorite place on earth. It's my favorite community. I'm inspired by the movement, inspired by the impact it's had globally. It's where I feel most in flow. I now lead the build of a whole village of 250 people, which is a camp of 4 different camps, and I love it. I don't touch my phone for like 2 weeks straight, and I'm just totally present and totally in the synchronous magic flow. And now that I feel like my general approach to Burning Man this last years has been a hardcore builder, and I build hard, and then I don't have responsibilities after the burn starts.
Totally,
and
yeah. I want to get it all done early in the week.
Yeah, I get it all done, and then don't count on me for.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm gone for a couple of days in a row. Sometimes I miss all the meals, and but it's.
I would like to gift myself unreliability for the rest of the week. It's amazing.
There's a very clear cutoff point. At what point I'm like, okay, no, I'm burning.
Yeah, I hear you. Same.
Yep.
So, Vision Quest chapter to LifeShip. What happens where you decide to start LifeShip?
Yeah, to start, before the Vision Quest even started, I guess kind of kicking it off before, I did Iboga, which is a powerful psychedelic made from the roots, the bark of a root in Gabon, and it's the Iboga plant. And
what called you to that?
I had worked with ayahuasca a bunch of times at the point, and something about Iboga kept popping up, that it was something I was meant to do. And in the journey, the journey's like 24 hours. It's a deep one, and it was like I died and got reborn, and was a little fetus for hours, and was complete mushy brained, and then in that I saw. Became very clear that I had something I was meant to do, and that staying at the current company was I was meant to start my own company, and then it had something to do with life in space, and so that and then within the months after that, then I moved on from Planet, and then gave myself 6 months of kind of figuring out what was meant to happen, and without pressuring it, but giving myself lots of space. And near the end of that 6 months, I end up in Guatemala, and at Lake Atitlan, and it felt like it just called me, and I tend to. I guess it's a reoccurring theme that I'll feel the call to go somewhere, and then it won't even have been on my radar a week ago, and then I'll be like, okay, I think I'm supposed to go, and then I'll get tickets a day or two later and go for a couple weeks. And
the universe is clicking. That's what I'm saying, like The Sims.
I got called to Guatemala, and And I did a retreat, like back in the forest. This Lake Atitlan, Guatemala is gorgeous lake, often referred to as one of the most beautiful lakes in the world, and surrounded by volcanoes, and has a very peaceful, grounded energy, and also big vision, Mayan sacred space energy as well. And there I also sat with shamans and spent a lot of time in the forest. And
can I just interject super quick? A lot of what you're describing about like this energy that comes in like places, it's just, this was coming up for me. It is for those who like the screens, the internet, the tech, the social media, it can trick the mind into thinking that you're actually experiencing the world, but it's kind of a cheap copy that's gone through a filter of whoever is posting and what salaciousness the algorithm wants to get more clicks for. But when you physically go out to these places, like something shifts, like really being in that space, being in nature, feeling the energy shift, feeling an alien entity coming through, whatever it can be all these things. But I'm just like hearing a lot of that from your travels and adventures. Like it's easy to sit behind the screen and look at the world and doom scroll. But then like when you get out there, you're like, holy shit, look at the rest of this planet. Look at how much energy is flowing through here. And anyway, I'm sorry. Please continue.
And this Lake Atitlan, like the Mayans considered it one of their portals of creation, and who knows how all this stuff works, but they consider this gorgeous deep lake in the crater of the volcanoes this giant memory portal or memory storage, and that the lake holds all this intelligence and memory, and this is a concept they had been working with for thousands of years, and
wow.
And being in the peacefulness of that and the serenity, there's certain stuff that just comes through in that kind of energy, but it does feel like there is some. I've been now 5 times to that lake, and each one has led to some new big direction or insight, or so that place has been a powerful spot for me. And so I one day, again, the day after an ayahuasca ceremony, I went on this long walk up in the forest by myself, and I went for about 6-hour journey off the trails and just like climbing up the hillside in the forest. And I found this giant, the biggest tree I saw of the whole trip, and it had all sorts of vines and ferns growing off it, and moss and insects, and it felt like the grandmother tree of the whole forest. Like it had just like a different presence than any other tree I'd come across. And I meditated under this tree, and in this meditation, I felt like I got a knowing of the intelligence of the earth, and I felt like I connected to it, and it was very clear that the earth wants to reproduce, and the earth wants to spread the seeds of life, and so I like opened my eyes out of this, and I was like, oh, my purpose is to create the seeds of earth to send to the stars, and so I was that felt very much aligned, and like how you turn that into a business, like how you convince, like, why does that matter now? That all over the coming months, as I was starting to like take steps in this direction and think about it more and write about it. And it came as a seed bank on the moon. Makes sense as a first step. It's the Mayans built seed banks. The Incas built seed banks. We've built seed banks into like there's a famous one in Svalbard, off an island off Norway, that is a big concrete bunker built into this ice shelf that has 1 million seeds in it.
Wow.
And so
like actual plant seeds.
Okay. So the concept of saving seeds for a future generation that's real and alive, and humans have understood that for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And saving seeds, but all our seeds banks are on Earth, and at some point it makes sense to save a copy somewhere else, and the moon is the next closest place. And so a seed bank on the moon seemed like a meaningful thing to do right now.
Okay.
In the state where we're at, and then also space inspires people from all around the world look up to the stars, and there's nations on Earth where the number one career dream is astronaut, and so space is one of the biggest inspirations we have for many people. And so pretty quickly it came as like, okay, both a backup of Earth, but really a step towards how do we connect people to an inspiring future, and connect people to being part of space, and help bridge people towards seeing our future out there, and connect these concepts of space being used to help Earth, space being used for life, us being part of Earth, us being part of part of the purpose of Earth, and the Earth having a purpose in the universe. And
the obvious question is like, it would be like, there's so much that's on fire here. Why are we focused on out there? And it seems like kind of like the answer is it's vantage point. It's being able to look at it from this higher vantage point and feeling some hope to put out that fire, right? Like that's how I don't know. That's what I'm interpreting.
Yeah, and just like we come to the playa and we have a blank canvas, and we build a city from that canvas, and that city might not be everyone's dream city, but it's pretty cool what gets built there, and it definitely has gone on to impact the Earth and humanity and who we are, just that model of how we live. Yeah. Space has that blank canvas to it, where like, oh, let's get this right. How do we want to do this? How do we dream and create and do something with this blank canvas, and the act of doing that, and then hopefully the actual reality of doing that then becomes a model for how do we do that better here, and people can see it, and we have a new a new way that things can be done. And so space really has this opportunity to bring out the best in us, and and as we do that, there's so many things that space can be used that is being used currently to help Earth here, and will be used in the future to help Earth. And so
can you give me a couple of examples of that?
So I worked on satellites that image the whole world every day, and make it so we can care for our planet and see where trees get cut down, and
sure,
yeah, and then satellite communications is like that's connecting people, and right now we run towers on top of mountaintops and run these fiber optics all over, whereas space is only like 300-400 kilometers up where these satellites are, which is closer than LA to San Francisco or whatever. It's like it's not that far away, space, and so putting a lot of infrastructure in space will help Earth and has done better. And then I thought this was way further away, but there's a company I'm an investor in called Astroforge that's doing asteroid mining, and we have one of these pyramids going out on one of their missions to an asteroid later this year, and they, mining on Earth is horrible. It's extractive. It damages the Earth. It kills communities. It there's all sorts of wars fought over resources, and yet and some of these resources like platinum, we have limited amounts of them on Earth, and that's what causes all this. And then there's regularly asteroids that float by that have more platinum or other rare earth metals than all of Earth combined. And It's just like one one asteroid just floats by, and as space is becoming accessible, we'll start to utilize that and bring these back, and yeah, they're needed in all our cell phones, and people can make arguments like, why don't we just use less of these things? But like they're part of our reality now. And then energy, like there's energy we'll be able to do giant fields of solar panels in space, and either use the energy up there for things needed up there, like data centers. Like right now, data centers are these huge energy resource sucks, and we need to like increase our energy use on Earth here by many times over the coming decade, just for the data centers. And yeah, artificial intelligence requires many more data centers. Yeah. And so there's a lot of big motion towards data centers in space, and
fascinating.
And because that's where energy is free up there. Solar panels work 6 times more efficiently in space because the sun's not blocked by our atmosphere. Yeah. Data centers need huge cooling things and run rivers through them essentially to like cool them, and so there's a lot of benefits to putting compute in space as well. And
so then I want to go back to LifeShip here. How do you get investors? If it feels like, for example, if I started a company where I'm going to, mine an asteroid, there's a more direct ROI, right? How did this work? How did you convince enough people this is a worthwhile endeavor, in order to spread?
Yeah. So our first business model is a space monument platform. So we're putting monuments across space, and then it's a platform. It's a way all different people and companies and brands can be part of it. And so we have, I mentioned some of the partners earlier on that put collections in, and so some of those pay to put their collections in. There are brands. This next one going to the moon, we're putting the first chocolate bar on the moon. And a drop of wine, and so a drop of honey as well. And so there's brands that want to be the first of their kind on the moon.
Yeah, and that's a story you can hold on to forever.
Yeah,
I was the first chocolate bar on the moon.
Yeah, and then they're launching a whole chocolate bar around that. And there's the nation of Papua New Guinea. Their president watched our last landing, and they have a collection on this. So there's whole nations that this is their first mission to the moon, and they're claiming that as like, okay, we're doing a moon mission. And then with like blockchain and crypto, there's like startup communities and startup societies that have their own governance and their own token, and they want to be part of space in a way. And so there's all different ways I've brought organizations and communities into these missions. And then individuals, artists love having their art on the moon. They want their creation up there.
I was going to ask, is there already a first podcast on the moon?
He's
thinking about it.
There's a lot of interviews. I don't know if they were officially considered a podcast.
Yeah, a lot of people call their shit a podcast, and it's not. It's like a YouTube video or something.
Yeah.
Like, no. This is a podcast. Just FYI, listeners. 2 guys with a mic. And necessarily 2 guys, but 2 people with a mic.
Well, we can put this on the moon.
Ooh, Burner Podcast. Okay. I want Burner Podcast to be the first podcast on the moon. My secret mission.
And then so individuals add art. There's people that want a plaque to memorialize this thing, and like, so we put miniature plaques in and miniature information, or
amazing.
There's ways that we're putting the DNA of all different species. Like we're working on ways for people to sponsor a species that helps that species on Earth, as well as like, you're the one who took the elephants to the stars on like Noah's Ark to the stars, essentially.
I was just going to say, it's kind of an arc.
Yeah.
And like
so
the flood is the end of the earth. I don't know.
so that's the initial way I've gotten this, like the missions to kind of cover themselves. And, but I've been bootstrapping it and doing it on a budget. The vision is that this, this builds our community, it builds our partnerships, it builds our network, it builds like the story, it builds this overall mission to spread life in the universe. And then through it, we do bigger and bigger monuments on the moon. And then, I want to build the temple on the moon, like how there's the temple at Burning Man, and we come together and build a non-denominational temple that inspires people, and people can add their message to it.
So the first regional on the moon.
Yeah. And so
What should we call that?
Send people up for a moon burn where they contribute to the temple, and it might take a bunch of these before we assemble the temple, but make it a way so people can go up, and maybe it's 50 people at a time or 100 people, or maybe it grows, and then maybe other artists want to propose their other art to this temple complex, and so it starts to become like the play on the moon. Wow. And then
I would love to go do acid on the moon.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good space for it.
and like a co-created transformational journey festival on the moon to go do it. And I believe that-that's like, the number one reason people will want to go to space is for a transformational epic experience.
Yeah.
And so like,
that's why I go to my inner space, right? Might as well go to another one. What, how does one submit a project? Do they need to track you down? You just go to the website. How does somebody's DNA get on there? Whose DNA goes?
And then so we also have kits for people to send their DNA to the moon. Like anything like a bigger collection or art, then those people message me, and
you got to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, there's ways on the website just to add like a single piece of art or a photo as well. But then, many of the projects end up being custom projects where we use all different technologies. We can nano engrave photos and art into nickel plates where you can zoom in a microscope and actually see the images. We can also put digital data into this crystal, which will last 1 billion years, and then we can print and color in certain ways that are designed as archival materials as well. And so we have a number of different technologies where depending on what people want to add. And
why a pyramid?
So I just about a month or so ago, I went to Egypt. I was on this 20 person tour. It was a scouting trip for the Egypt eclipse in 2027. There's a total solar eclipse that happens over the Egypt pyramids.
Wow.
Or not over the pyramids. It happens over the temples, like near Luxor. And
that's going to be a trippy experience.
Yeah, and so I'm planning on being part of that, and like part of the core early community for throwing that event. Anyway, that was my first time going to the Egyptian pyramids, but I've been to other pyramids around Earth. These cultures, disconnected cultures around Earth, seem to have been building pyramids for thousands of years, and it's kind of become a symbol of something that lasts beyond your civilization, and is a message and a story and a legacy that a future civilization gets to interpret and learn from you. They were monumental accomplishments that took a whole society to come together in a certain way, and we're like a focus of the lives of these different communities or civilizations, and so a pyramid felt like the right message and symbol to send a message to a future civilization and save an archive of who we are now. And
as you're describing like the different like DNA and art and all this stuff out there, I can't not imagine like this like little tiny play alchemist like on the moon.
And if you imagine like a moon playa, which will happen at some point, like, if you go out there on the playa, if you look around, you're going to see a few pyramids at any one time. Like they're out there and around. So a pyramid belongs on the moon at some point. And, they carry a certain meaning and a weight and are impactful symbol, I guess.
Yeah. Has LifeShip, has it all unfolded sort of the way that you envisioned it, or have there been twists and turns you didn't expect?
When I started, I didn't just dream of putting little objects on the moon. Like I wanted, I dream of biospheres, and I dream of plants and animals on the moon and Mars and beyond. And but to fully like, it was an evolution and towards me accepting that that's part of this dream, I guess. And to claim that in a way that's what we're working towards. And so, whereas at first it's like, okay, I'm doing little capsules with DNA in them, like the vision and the mission and what we're working on and where we're going and how it's a community movement. That all evolved, and I feel like there definitely have many points, but like the evolution of, okay, this isn't just like, what am I creating and what am I doing and what kind of thing do I want to do? It definitely feels more of like a discovering of what is this entity and mission and purpose and collective that is meant to exist in the universe. And what is it? What is its story, and what does it feel like, and what is its purpose? And there's also been that decoupling of just like, who am I and what part's my purpose, and what is this organization and this thing that feels like it's naturally meant to exist in a way.
There's a running theme that I'm following with your story and the way you move through the world, which I guess the easiest way I could describe is like unfolding. Like you're following an unfolding and you feel comfortable, or at least you're presenting like you feel comfortable pivoting and shifting as the direction shifts, like following where the stream takes you. And I want to hear a little bit about that for just my own sake. like I almost describe it as like not gripping the steering wheel way too hard. I always tell people like the version is when I went to like Africa Burn. Have you been? Yeah, there's this 4-hour drive where you're like going through these super spiky rocks and people's tires are blowing out left and right. And my friend Paul, who's driving, he had read about how it's important not to grip the steering wheel too tight, because when you hold it too tight, that's when the blowout happens. So you allow the road to kind of take you around to where it's supposed to. And I'm kind of hearing a lot of that in how you're approaching this journey, and I'd love to hear some about that from you.
Totally. And that's, when I'm on the playa, when I'm at Burning Man, I tend not to make many calendar time, like
same
things. I know lots of people going and that are like, oh, we should meet up, and I kind of leave it up to the playa if we're meant to meet up, and don't schedule out things. I get to a sense of I even, like, in the most magical times, I get to the sense of like my feet just wanting to turn and walk in a certain direction, or wanting to leave a connection at the time, even though I might have been tempted to stay there for longer, or keep talking to the person, or keep dancing with the person, or whatever. And Yeah. And
how can you tell the difference between when that's like fear or something else speaking versus like the impulse?
Yeah, just but there's times where it's just like, okay, my body wants to turn to the right and walk that way. And yeah, getting to the point where I'm just more in tune and listening to that. And so I have an 11-year-old daughter, Luna, who's absolutely amazing and the biggest part of my life. And
Luna is her name, by the way.
Luna's her name. And she's been to regional burns and other big events. Not to the playa yet. So she grounds me in a way but I also like to be able to just drop everything and go away for a couple weeks to some place that calls me. And so, yeah, I live a grounded calendar life in certain ways, but then I also try to maintain enough flexibility to, if something really calls me, that I can, I can do it. And I try to listen to those signs. And yeah, I feel like LifeShip, I totally believe it is something that Gaia and the Earth and the universe like want this sort of thing to happen. One is guiding us to help spread life, and that's like life's natural evolution, and that this is all unfolding in a direction towards that. And so yeah, I'm trying to just follow the signs and put myself in magical places where I meet the magical people that seem to open up new doors or be part of it in some way. And
I keep thinking about it. I followed an impulse to come to that event to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not in that circle. I'm not in that world. I've never been to LA Tech Week. Nothing. It was just, and that was the day. And, my ayahuasca facilitator, he described it as, he was saying to us that the plants are speaking to us because we share this planet, and us humans are wreaking havoc on it. And so the plants are talking to us, and ayahuasca is one of those channels of communication. It's in their interest to spread that message as far and wide as possible. And I just kind of keep thinking about that, like that sense of life wanting to continue to flourish and the message coming through in whatever way it can. Mm-hmm. And now you're making little pyramids and sending them to the moon. Trippy, man. What is next for you? What are you working on next? What are you excited about next?
So we have a pyramid going on a moon rover.
Okay.
There's a company out of LA that I originally met at LA Tech Week 3 years ago, called Astrolab.
Okay.
And they build a small moon rover, and they build a bigger one, but the smaller one is called Flip. And so we have a pyramid on the front deck of the rover, and then there's a camera that looks out over it, and it's planned for launch in October, and it'll land on the moon and drive around on the moon. And that's exciting. We'll have video of this going around on the moon, and then we have another one launching in October that goes out to an asteroid with the asteroid mining company Astroforge, and that'll land on an asteroid and stay there forever, essentially, and be out there in deep space. And
because the asteroid's just going to keep going, right? It's not an orbit.
It's in orbit around the sun.
Oh, okay. It's far.
Yeah. And so both those are like super cool, unique missions that are on the forefront of cool things humans are doing in space. And so excited to be part of those, and then working towards an even bigger mission that'll be the next year. And so that I'm bringing on some cool partners, and those two other ones we've already shipped. The pyramids are sealed up and are with the space companies to deliver them. But then the one for next year, I'm working on making a bigger thing, a bigger size monument, a bigger cooler mission. It's on a really cool mission, and and then bringing in some really cool partners to help make this story. And
how many space companies are there right now?
Many hundreds, maybe 1,000. Some of them just use data from a thing in space. Some actually put objects in space. Many of the companies, kind of the first wave of space companies is using space with the product being here on Earth, whether that's communications or imagery or GPS. But the next wave of space companies, which is like the infrastructure and the things needed for in space, which is like the gas stations in space, or the utility companies of space, or the building the habitats in space, or growing the food in space, or using resources in space to build stuff in space. So there's a whole new wave of companies that are betting on the very near term that we're going to be building cities in space. And
it is a big enough industry where you're working and connecting and sending things out to space, and you're likely to it sounds silly, but like you're not going to like know everybody who's in it. Like it's I don't know, it's like saying I work in I'm an architect, and then somebody assuming that you know all the architects, right?
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
Like it's big enough now. Like it's a big enough part of the world's economy that there's wow, that's wild to even just consider.
Yeah,
because it's so far out of most people's even perception of reality.
And SpaceX is about to have an IPO. It'll be perhaps the biggest IPO in history. I think they're aiming for a $1.75 trillion IPO. So they're one of the biggest companies on Earth. And
do you on a commercial flight with like SpaceX? Like, how does that work?
So we've been a secondary customer. We've either the moon lander is who we book with, and then they book with SpaceX. And so generally with SpaceX, you're either building a satellite or a spacecraft or a moon lander or something that goes on to do something. Yeah. Whereas ours are generally the secondary payload.
Wow. Okay.
But so we have some cool missions coming up. I'm working on this next phase of this next mission next year, which will be even cooler and bigger and have cooler partners and be a much bigger story. And then I'm working towards a regional Burning Man on the moon and a temple on the moon and bringing that vision to life. And that's some steps to get there, but working towards that. And then overall it's increasingly finding ways for people to be part of it and communities to be part of it, entrepreneurs to launch their own thing through it, ways for people to have a say in it, and making more ways for people to be part of this vision and be part of space and be part of a community that wants to see each of us go to the moon together and wants to see communities on the moon. And
I'm really excited about a regional burn on the moon. I mean, I haven't even made it up to Santa Cruz yet. And, and I'm thinking about yes, I want to go to a regional on the moon. We got to figure out who the first DJ is going to be on the moon.
Totally.
How do we get Mayan Warrior up there?
There's a lot to do. And overall, I think one of the things that we need as a species is we're lacking big North Star visions of where we're headed, and I hope to through this and through ways I'm building the community and through events we'll have, and is to help people feel humanity can do cool things. We're on a cool path. We're stewards of life, and we're the universe is counting on us to like continue life, and we have this gorgeous blank slate, and we can do it beautifully, and we can be the species that the galactic species that we're proud of. Like, like what if that's us out there traveling amongst the stars, and like who could humans be then? And so I feel like it's an opportunity to like to give a big picture narrative of where humans can go and what our legacy and our purpose can be, and and if we can unite on big picture inspiration of who we can be as a species, then that can help us today and the unfolding years and decades of who we are and how we relate here on Earth.
Yeah. To look back on the pale blue dot, right? Mm-hmm. I want to wrap up here by just kind of going back to the playa. You're mayor of a village with 4 camps.
Wouldn't say mayor. I lead the build of it.
Okay.
We have
Build lead,
we have several core pillars of the camp. But
what are the camps?
So my camp is Gaian Airship.
Okay.
And I believe we're 915 in F.
Okay.
So we're on the 9 o'clock. The village is called a transformation station. Mm-hmm. And then another camp in there is Caravan of Light. Mm-hmm. And then we did have a small startup camp called Burning Man Space Program, BMSP.
Okay.
So there's four camps, and we're back again this year, and we've had the same configuration. The main hub camp at Transformation Station's been around for a bit longer, but us 4 camps in this kind of we've done it 2 years now that we do it, and then. I show up normally Monday or Tuesday, and I'm one of the first ones there, and stay for about 2 weeks, and love building it.
I'm guessing you're going this year.
It's one of the only things I go to without question.
Yeah.
So I don't even say, I don't give myself that second of doubt. It's just there's a ranger I spoke with who was like, he just, after 20 years, he's like, he just accepted this is just what I do this time of year. Yeah.
And I mean, I personally, like, I leave everyone having grown. Like, I feel better. I feel stronger. I feel inspired again because, we're out there. I guess I want to finish with just kind of like, I want like a very specific memory from you about being on playa. I want to finish there. Mm-hmm. Can you think of something?
There's been big things, but one that just comes to mind. I was out at Robot Heart on top of the bus, like through a dust storm at sunrise, and it was just crazy dust storm. And anyway, I went to ride home after it, and I could not see 10 feet in front of me, and I just kept riding, and then maybe I should have introed the art project, but a couple of days before I had just been around at art, and there was one art that was these like 5 kitties with their heads looking down and their butts all up in the air sticking out, and like each one had there was some like game or thing that at the kitty's butt. And anyway, I was riding through the dust, and I like there's very few landmarks that I would have come across that would have been like, okay, this is exactly where and then all of a sudden a kitty's butt popped up in front of me, and I knew like exactly where I was. And
I hear you.
Yeah.
The kitty's butt is your most. I love it. After the talk we just had, the kitty butt moment. I love it.
That got me home.
I can dig it, man. Cool, man. Thank you so much for sitting with me. This has been. before we met, I kind of set the intention for myself that I would like to have this conversation and like really enjoy it and feel inspired. And both of those things have happened. So
Awesome.
Thank you so much for this. And thanks for helping build a village, man.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of fucking work. So appreciate you on Playa. I appreciate this conversation. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll have like links to all of this stuff in the show notes. And if people want to reach out to you directly, there's ways to do that. We'll have all those links, but cool. All right, I'm going to do the outro. Hey, you're now listening to the sounds of Black Velveteen. This set was recorded on the Air Pusher Art Car at Burning Man 2025. You may have noticed that there are letters along with the numbers when I say the episode numbers now. Today's episode was B161, which stands, of course, for Burner Podcast 161. The other shows going live on the same feed are Burner Podcast Presents Alkaline and The Dispatch. Alkaline is the DJ mixes and marked by a session prefaced with the letter A. And The Dispatch is more immediate, unedited raw drops, and I either have a quick phone chat or just talk to you directly. Those are prefaced with D, like Dispatch. The committee was up all night on that one, let me tell you. If you loved today's episode, share it with 3 friends. If you hated it, share it with 3 enemies. Either way, we'll take the engagement. Burner Podcast is produced by a revolving team of dusty maniacs. We take decommodification seriously, so there will never be any paywalls or pressure. But if you have the means, consider supporting the maintenance of the archives and helping produce new shows via our Patreon. Believe it or not, each of these episodes do take like a week or so to produce. So the links to our Patreon and all this other stuff are over in the show notes. All these things can be found over at burnerpodcast.com. As always, if you have a guest or topic you'd love to hear on the show, hit us up. I'd love to hear them. The intro music that you heard is by Joman, based out of Austin, Texas. Until next time, love, light, and all that other crap. Take us back to the playa, Black Velveteen.
burnerpodcast.com.